Here's another version of the children's book stories, and this also has a flaw. I'm using a drop down list here, which is a select with options, and what I wanted to do was that when I clicked on a name of a story, not only would you hear the MP3 story, but you would see the cover of the book over here in the side frame. Well, I was not successful in finding the code that would allow me to do two actions with one single drop down option. So this is another work in progress. But what happens is you click on a story.
My name is Ora Mae Cotton of Crabapple Orchard. How to babysit a grandpa. Bear and Hare share. Wonderful. It's me, Zambolina, at tryouts today.
Okay, so you see, as far as just being able to listen to different stories by click, unlike the previous video where I used the mouse was mousing over and mousing away from the image to get the story to play, at least I'm getting the click event here. But I really want to be able to show the cover of the book as well. So we'll figure that out another time. When I figure out how I can make this drop down list do what I want it to do, two different things, then I'll make a video for that. But in the meantime, I'm just going to go over the code that I do have. So we've got our doc type declaration here, our opening HTML tag, our opening head tag. Actually, I'm missing my closing head tag because this is not turning purple when I click on it. So let's see, after the style, after all the styles, after all the scripts, right here should be my ending head tag. Okay. Let's try this again. So I've got my doc type declaration here, my opening head. I'm sorry, my opening HTML tag, my opening head tag. Metachar set equals UTF-8. Title, selected list auto, select list auto. Link rel equals shortcut icon, href equals box / smile.bmp, type equals image / x icon. That's my little smiley guy up here right next to the title. Again, recall from the last video that in order to access that smile.bitmap, we have to go into a folder called box. And just to remind you, on my desktop I've got a folder called books, folder called book read, and the previous video went over hoverstories.html that accessed the stuff in this box. And this image link stories, wait, is that the name of what I'm doing? No, select list audio. The select list audio is what I'm doing right now. It also accesses stuff in the box. As of right now, it's only accessing the smiley bitmap and the MP3 files. It is not accessing the HTML files or the JPEGs because I couldn't get it to work. Okay, so let's just show you the code for what does work, which is basically just clicking on a drop-down list and hearing audio. So let's look at the style first. For the body of the page, padding is set to 0 pixels, margin is set to 0 pixels auto. For the element with the ID of wrapped, div ID wrapped, we've got a border set to 10 pixels pink ridge, background color set to black, minimum width is set to 610 pixels, and float is left. Okay, for whenever I figure out, see, this really isn't doing anything. I used this IMG for the previous video because I wanted each one of the covers of the children's book to be the same size. I believe all of those were 85 by 85. This is not being used right now. I mean, I'll keep it here for hopefully when I get my the rest of my code to work the way I want, which is to put the cover in this iframe. But until then, it's not currently doing a thing. I've got an element with the ID of my list, and that has a font family set to sans serif, a color set to green, a border set to 10 pixels green outset, and a font size set to 13 pixels. And the idea with my list is pertaining to this select with options. Then I have one more ID TV, and that's basically setting styles for this iframe over here on the right. ID TV has border set to 10 pixels green outset, height set to 440 pixels, width set to 48%, margin set to 0 pixels, float set to right, and background color set to white. And lastly, I have class highlight, which has the background color set to pink, the padding right set to 5 pixels. That ends all the styles for this particular page. So close up this, and let's look at the JavaScript inside of the script tags. Alright, so we've got function init audio. It starts off creating some variables, var audio, dir, ext, my list, semicolon. So those 4 variables are being created. For the dir variable, which is short for directory, we set that to the directory or folder that we've got stuff in, which is box capitalized with a /. So that's the first thing that we set. Then we set ext, that stands for short for extension. We set that to .mp3 because that's the extension of our audio files. Here we create an audio object. Audio equals new audio. And if we wanted an audio to play the moment this page opens, we would have these 2 statements. Audio.source equals dir plus song name plus ext, and we would have another statement after that that's audio.play. But I do not want anything to start playing until one of these options are selected first. So I commented that out for possible future use, but it's not executing as of now. We've got event handling down here. My list equals document.getElementById, and in parentheses we show the ID my list in quotes. And the next statement we have after that is my list.addEventListener, and in parentheses we have change in double quotes, which stands for the change. When you change the options here, it's going to call a function called change track. And I got the idea for this code from watching one of the, let me see, what video was it? I think it was Adam Corey's audio player videos. Okay, so the next thing we have is functions. Here's a function change track, and in parentheses we have event, and in the meat of the curly braces for this function we have 2 statements right here. The first statement is this one, audio.source equals dir, the variable dir, which you know the value of dir is the box /. That's my directory that the mp3s are in, plus event.target.value, which means whichever one you click on of all these options, that's going to be what the event.target.value represents, plus ext. Okay, so This is going to give us our full path to the audio source box plus the name of the MP3 plus ext, which means MP3. The next thing right here we have is audio.play, which is going to take your audio file and play it. So there's the end of change track function. This curly brace is the end of the init audio function. So here you've got a function inside of a function. Change track is inside of init audio, which is right there at the very beginning of our script tag. Okay, so after that init audio function, we have this statement. Window, and this is not in any function, okay? This statement is like, it's kind of like global because it's within the script but not within a function. Window.add event listener, parentheses, load, comma, init audio. So when the window loads, it's going to call the init audio function. Here's the end of the script, so we're all done with our JavaScript. So let me close up this. And since we're done with our style, we're done with our script, we might as well close the whole head. And let's check out what all is entailed in the body. I've got an external div with the ID set to wrapped. After which I've got this select. This is how we create our drop-down list, which in this case we don't actually have it dropping down. We have it staying open. And I'll show you what made it stay open. It's this attribute right here, size equals 26. And I'll show you if I misspell it why it will look more like a drop-down list when I take that off. But let me read all of this first. Select ID equals my list, size equals 26, name equals options. On change, so our on change event is going to do this whole thing. All of that is going to be done with the on change event, which means each time we change an option, document.getElementById. Okay. I see that this is how I thought I was going to change my iframe over here, source. And it didn't actually work because the value to these options I gave for the MP3 file. If I were to have given the value for these options to have been a JPEG, then this code that I'm reading you right now for the on change would have changed. The images would go here, but I don't know how to make both of those happen. Click on the option which reads an MP3, it plays an MP3 plus puts a picture in this iframe. I don't know how to do that yet. But anyway, this is not executing with the JPEG file because I can only do one thing at a time, but this is the code anyhow. On change equals document.getElementById, parentheses, the ID TV.source equals this.options, and then in straight brackets, this.selectedIndex.value. So that gets our select started. Let's check out what's inside of that. We've got option tags. Option value equals an empty string, selected equals selected, and then inside the opening and closing option tag, I have a set of dashes, and then the text Storytime drop-down list in caps, followed by some more dashes. And that's what you see right here at the very top, Storytime drop-down list. It's not anything you can select. You can click on it, but there's no value there, so it doesn't do anything. After that option, we have this thing, which is called an opt group. Opt group, class equals highlight, label equals please choose a story. So you can see we've got bolded text here that says please choose a story. That's what the opt group is. Again, it's not something that you can click and get anything out of. It's just a nice little header here. Now we're going to get into the regular options, the things that you can click and things will happen. So for the first option, we have value equals airmail to the moon, and then the text that you see on the web page, airmail to the moon, and then the ending option tag. We will copy and paste this over and over and over until we satisfy every story or every product that is going to be in this drop-down list, or this select, if you will. This airmail to the moon represents the name of the MP3 file. When we add our dir variable, which has a value of box /, and we concatenate it to this, and then after that we concatenate ext, which is the variable that has the value .mp3 file. That gives us the entire value for this option. It gives us the path to the mp3. And again, this gives us the path to the mp3 for this story. It's called babysitgrandpa.mp3. So the path is box / babysitgrandpa.mp3. So option value equals babysitgrandpa. The text that you see right here is how to babysit a grandpa, and then you close your option tag. And we do this over and over again for every story, all the way down to this last one. Why does it seem like I'm missing something? I guess it's just short. Option value equals Zombolina. The text that you see in between the opening and closing option tag is Zombolina, and your option tag. It's your last one. Go down here, you can see it's the last one right here.
It's me, Zombolina, at tryouts to...
Okay. And your select tag. And here's my iframe that's sitting over here with the smiley guy sitting inside. This is what I want to use to show the cover of every children's book. But I haven't got that figured out yet. But this is where it will go. iframe, name equals TV, ID equals TV, source equals, and here's the path to that smiley guy in the folder called box / grab smile.bmp. And you can see him right there. End iframe. End the div that wraps it all together. End the body. End the HTML. And with that, we have ended another tutorial. A work in progress, because I do want to make improvements to it.